Yeah, hello everybody. My name's Ty Smathers. I am with Microsoft as a low code specialist. So I focus talking about Power Platform every day, and specifically today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Copilot and Copilot Studio, where we have given you the tools to create your own Copilot, pointing it to your own documentation, and having this AI tool benefit your company with your own data there. Work very closely with Rockhop, one of our great Power Platform partners, and I'll pass it over to Paige.
Yeah, thanks, Ty. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Paige Midness. I lead our customer experience team at Rockhop. And if you've not joined, for those of you who have not joined a webinar, one of our prior webinars, we're a Microsoft, Microsoft partner fully dedicated to Power Platform. We are a team of industry veterans, which is just code for we've been around for a while. But we have been, we've spent a lot of time in our careers helping customers solve the challenges that many of you all are looking to solve, but with platforms that didn't really meet their needs. And so we're really excited about Power Platform and the ability to actually solve many of these challenges, automating business processes, creating applications that meet the business needs more closely, and with real value that you can measure. So we like and keep an eye towards ROI with everything that we do, and making sure that we're working on the right things and that we can measure the value that it will provide to your organization. For today's webinar, we start everything with an overview of the Power Platform. Things are always changing, and Microsoft is always adding new features and functionality. And so we'll go over all of the tools that are in the Power Platform, as well as Copilot, which is all the buzz. I'm sure you're all hearing lots about Microsoft Copilots. And so we'll walk through those and where they fit within your organization. And then we'll run through some governance considerations. We're finding that this is a pretty big hurdle for organizations to get their heads around, and governance feels like a very heavy word, but we're going to simplify it and talk through some ways and some things that you need to consider when starting your an initiative around Power Platform within your organization, and some things that will make it easier for you guys to get started and not have to feel like you have to get over this huge hurdle of governance. And then we're going to jump into the technology. So we're going to show you how Power Platform and Copilot can work together through some demos of common scenarios that we see across our customers. And then we'll just go through some ways that we can make this easier for you and get you started on your way with Copilot and Power Platform. So we're going to start off with a quick poll. So you probably also hear citizen developer as a big buzzword. Citizen developer is a pretty mature concept, I think, was what we're seeing within organizations, and that it's you have to have the right pieces in place to get to a place where you actually have active citizen developers. But I was kind of surprised to see this statistic. So according to Gartner, what percentage of organizations surveyed said they have active citizen developer initiatives? And I'll put a poll up here. Give me 1 second. Go ahead, and you'll see a poll on your screen. Go ahead and select what you think. Still moving around a little bit. So the actual percentage is 41% according to Gartner. I was pretty surprised to see this. It's great to see, because this is where we want our customers to get to and work towards, and we want to help you get there. But it was kind of exciting to see that a lot of organizations are already starting on that path and working towards getting to that point. So. All right, we want to keep this pretty interactive. So if you have questions throughout the webinar, I'm going to hand it over to Dave to talk through some of the governance considerations. But if you have questions, post them in the chat and we will take pauses and answer those and get them addressed for you. And of course, if you want to have a conversation about your specific initiatives or challenges or have questions, I'll put our contact information up at the end of the webinar and we would be happy to talk through that with you. All right, Dave, I'll hand it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Paige. Hello, everyone. Good morning. We're going to talk about a little bit about Power Platform to start and what it includes. Then we'll go into the various co-pilots, and then we'll jump right into governance, and then off to Michael for a demo. So let's begin with Power Platform, and we'll try to go through this quickly. If you're not familiar with it, to give you a feel for what it is, and if you are, it'll be a nice overview for you again. So Power Platform includes several different components. The first one is Power Apps. Power Apps is the low-code, no-code way of building applications or solutions to serve a purpose within your business. These can be very simple solutions like form-based intakes where you have to enter a set of data and maybe get approvals. This could be something like, I need additional budget for my department, and then you have a budget head or a department head or finance team review that request and approve it, to something more complex of a solution, something more enterprise grade, like for instance, capturing your manufacturing process from closed-won sale to handing it off to finance, to engineering, to manufacturing, and then to maybe even getting your NPS score based upon how you serve those customers. But it could be other things too, like for instance, maybe it could be something that serves the finance department where something closes to then invoicing the customer as the next step. Could be even onboarding in your organization. So capturing who the employee is that you're about to hire and taking them through the process of a quick and simple onboarding to a day one experience within your organization. So quite powerful and so much you can do within Power App. This for sure can displace a lot of custom solutions that you might be thinking about building within your organization. The next one, and I'll mention that Power App sits on Azure Dataverse, has connectors to various other platforms. So if you need to pull in external systems and so on, it's all possible within Power Apps and including Power Automate, which really is the way to connect to these other platforms, the way to facilitate workflow approvals, the way to move data from one platform to another platform, and so on. So Power Automate is really the engine behind the scenes that facilitates those actions. But you can also do things like robotic process automation within Power Automate. So if you have a legacy Win32 app, or you have an app that you can't get access to easily, or if you have a day-to-day process that would be easier if it were automated based upon somebody starting that event or process, Power Automate can handle all those things. The next one in this wheel is Power Pages. Power Pages is similar to Power Apps, but it's more externally facing. So think of it as your external website where you can lead people to either anonymously or through an authenticated experience and then serve a purpose. It could be maybe they need to sign up for something, maybe they need to fill out a form or answer a question, maybe they want to submit a service ticket, for instance. You can build Power Pages to suit your needs and then have it interact with everything in the center, that being either Azure, your Dataverse, which is what Apps Automate and Power Pages sit on, and it could even coexist with a Power App. So if you have an external experience that you want to serve up some information to, you can do that through Power Apps and then make it available within Power Pages. The next one, which is really what we're going to center our conversation on today, is Copilot Studio. I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide of what Copilot Studio is, but think of Copilot Studio as a way to build targeted chatbots that include generative AI capabilities. We'll get into that in just a little bit more. Last one in this wheel is Power BI. So Power BI is a visualization tool. It sits under Fabric, but it also sits under Power Platform, and there's a really good reason for why it sits under Power Platform. The reason is because it ties real nicely into Apps, Automate, even Pages, and Copilots themselves. Power BI is a visualization tool where you're essentially consuming data to tell a story, but it doesn't allow you natively to input data or create actions from it. So think about actionable intelligence. What you can do with Power Apps is you can embed a Power App right into a Power BI dashboard so that if you wanted to take action right within that report, you're able to do that through that Power App. You could even build a Power Automate button within Power BI so that if you select a bunch of data and you want to then kick off the process, you can do that within Power Automate. On the flip side, you can embed a Power BI report into a Power Page. So let's say you're serving up a customer experience and you want them to get a nice report that tells a story about what you're doing with them in their business. You can make that available within Power Pages. Then last, not necessarily Copilot Studio, but you can enable Copilots within Power BI to help you find information quickly and even help you or guide you on report creation. So let's get into all of the Copilots. So as Paige said, you've probably heard the Copilot term. If you're not familiar with it, I'll try to demystify it a little bit for you. So on the left side, there's informational Copilots. Think of these as your conversation and being able to gather or capture information within your business. You can use Bing Chat Enterprise or Copilot Chat, and you can ask it questions about data that's already in your business, like SharePoint Online, for instance, or even OneDrive. And it's going to serve back and even reference these documents that it finds within your business, but it'll do that through a natural language conversation. The next ones are what I like to call assistants. These are the Copilots that you turn on for Office within Word, Excel, PowerPoint, where it'll help you create something within those applications. So let's say you're in Word and you want to summarize a document that you've written out, and you want it to be to lead with a summary. Copilot can look into that document and form a summary for you to help guide you on what that should look like. But same thing with PowerPoint. You can help you create PowerPoint slides and really make them look either nice or even create the content from source information. You can also use Copilots within, let's say, Power BI, where I mentioned earlier, you could have it help you look for information or even help you create visualizations within that tool set. We're going to talk a little bit about Power Platform, and there are Copilots within Power Platform, but there's two kinds of Copilots. One, to help you make an application within Power Platform. The other is to reveal that Copilot within an app that you've built that will help serve that user in either finding information or creating action. So the assistant is really here to help you and guide you and really accelerate the work that you're doing within these various productivity tools. The last one is around creation. So I mentioned the productivity Copilot on the middle section of the slide, but there's a reason why it sits on the right side as well. The productivity tools and even the informational tools connect to natively SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and so on. But if you wanted to bring in third-party systems that you have within your environment, you could also do that with the Microsoft 365 Copilot. But let's move on to more targeted Copilots. So Copilot Studio allows you to build a targeted Copilot that serves a specific outcome. That outcome could be that I've uploaded a bunch of documents and I want to then find information in those specific documents only for my business, right? It could be a Copilot that I've connected to a third-party system and I want to create action based upon a conversation that the user's having within that chatbot or that Copilot that I've built within Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio is quite powerful. It's your way to build a Copilot quickly in your organization and with a understood pricing or a pricing model that Microsoft has made available for Copilot Studio. But something with more depth is where you dig into Azure AI Studio. So this is where you're building a highly custom Copilot. And it's not just building a Copilot with a language model, it's actually allowing you to select different language models, even test them based upon the outcomes that you're getting from that conversation that you built with that Copilot in Azure AI Studio. You also have the ability to enable more safety capabilities, look for and measure and monitor quality of answers that are coming out of the Copilot, and really just going to evaluate the Copilot you've built within Azure AI Studio, whereas Copilot Studio itself is more out of the box, ready to go for a quick solution. All right, let's talk about governance. Now, governance applies to all of Power Platform, but it also applies specifically to Copilot. And I'll talk about the 4 pillars of governance that we see within Power Platform and that Copilot adopts within this process. So on the left, it's all about securing your Power Platform environment. So who has access? What type of data are we going to make available? What even connectors are we going to give users access to? And what data do we need to protect within our organization? This leftmost column is really important when you're getting started within Power Platform and Copilot, so that you can ensure that people can launch quickly, build out solutions, and not accidentally expose data that they shouldn't be exposing within your business. Manage pillar is really about how do we ensure that we have a model in which when we build solutions, it's going to the right isolated workspaces or environments. How do we make sure when we have new developers or new citizen developers that we're giving them an environment that they can use to launch quickly? How do we ensure that when we build something that we're leveraging tools like Azure DevOps or Jira or something similar within the environment? And how do we ensure that the proper change management is in place as we launch Power Platform and even Copilot Studio within our business? Next one is a real important one when it comes to within IT, for instance, and even outside of IT within citizen development. So how do we ensure that our developers within IT are following the appropriate model, that they're using Power Platform to accelerate the business, but also how do we get the right tools in place for our citizen developers, both learning materials and even a guided approach to getting into the environment. And then last is about protecting the environment. So how are we monitoring it? How are we looking for appropriate usage or under usage or no usage, orphaned applications, things like that? How do we make sure that we're backing up mission critical solutions that have been built within Power Platform? And how do we maintain the environment going forward, kind of that running cycle? So I'll talk about how that looks within this governance journey over time. Now, this is the ideal model, but it's not a one size fits all. And we can work backwards following this model based upon where you're at with Power Platform and even Copilot Studio. But typically what we like to see with governance is that we have an idea. We want to start leveraging Power Platform to prove that Power Platform can serve our business. It could be your first chatbot, it could be your first app, it could be the use of even Power BI. When we've established that and we've found that we've had great success with that, we then want to look at building a committee to help define the requirements for those 2 first pillars that I mentioned earlier on the previous slide, secure and manage. This is where we want to make sure that as we launch forward with Power Platform and Copilot Studio, that we've put the right initial controls in place. So to not block users, but really to empower them to get them moving on the Power Platform and Copilot Studio. And again, that's for your internal folks within IT, as well as your citizen developers within the business. Now, we're also going to implement some portion of nurture and protect. These are important because nurture allows us to get the right material in folks' hands so that they understand, or when they get stuck, where they can go to help find resources to help them continue on building their solutions within the organization. And protect is really about how we're monitoring the environment out of the gate to make sure that we have an understanding of the business and where things are going, and we're not creating sprawl effectively. So that should lead you to building more solutions and more outcomes within Power Platform. And as that continues, you're meeting again to enhance the protect and nurture phases of that business. So you're continuing to improve that and offer more capabilities and even more protection. So this is where we're looking at solutions that have been built, and we're protecting them by ensuring that they have the right solution and environment approach, ensuring that they're being backed up appropriately where necessary, and even how we're connecting to third-party systems. And nurture is making sure that we have the right program in place and that we're fostering that growth within our citizen developers in the business. And then at that point, you get to a point where you start to funnel ideas, you're starting to guide users, you're even taking in ideas to build them within your organization, either within IT, or you're empowering that citizen developer with the right access to the right even third-party systems and so on. And then last is about continuous improvement. So you've gone through this cycle. It doesn't just end there. there will be new technologies released or new features and capabilities released by Microsoft in Power Platform. We want to make sure we're monitoring those things, but we also want to make sure that we're also helping protect and nurture those users as we go through this process, as well as ensuring that anything new that we're monitoring to secure and manage the environment. So that's it. I'll stop. I'll pass it over to Michael. We're going to get into a demo of Copilot Studio and Copilots. And Michael, I'll hand it to you.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm excited to show you a few fun features with Copilot. The first thing I want to cover today, though, is I always want to go over what tools you have in terms of governance for Copilots. That's a question that we see often is, how do I monitor what bots are being created, and what kind of controls do I have with bots that are being created? So I'll go over some tools that you have with the COE toolkit that they provide to kind of keep an eye on these Copilots that are being built. The next thing, I'll go over a new Copilot that has been introduced with model-driven apps, a very fun and pretty awesome and powerful new feature that you get for free with model-driven apps with their new release wave. And then the Copilot, doing a Copilot with a workflow, or doing a workflow with a Copilot, I should say, vice versa. So I'll kind of show you an example of how that works and how we've built that into a workflow. And then the next and last one is Copilot and external sources. So working with kind of an external system with a Copilot and actually getting information from external systems to help you make decisions or kind of help you form a status report in this example. Okay, so thank you, Dave. I'm going to take over here. All right, so the first thing is I'm going to show you the Power BI dashboard that you get with the COE toolkit. So with this dashboard, you not only can view what bots are being created in your environment and kind of trends of your bots. And when I say bots, that means Copilots. You can also view all of your Power Apps and all of your flows that are being created and pages, really anything that falls under the Power Platform umbrella. You can kind of get a nice high-level vision of what's happening and who's creating what and what's being created, and that includes where data is going, what connectors are being created, etc. So this is a great tool to get installed in your Power Platform tenant, and helps you kind of keep things under control and just know who is actually doing things within your environment, and to help kind of nurture them as well. So there are other tools with Copilots, more preventative measures that you can do, and that's I wanted to quickly touch on. And first and foremost, there is a setting that you can set on your tenants to restrict publishing Copilots that use generative AI. So if you're worried about users getting a hold of generative AI features and publishing them out to your company and not knowing kind of the answers that are being given based off of data that might be private information within your company, you can restrict that setting until you want to ease that in and make sure that you understand what those Copilots are doing and how they're built. So the other thing that you can do is you can create DLP policies for Copilots and make sure that they're applied to Copilots. So that has to do with data and the connectors that you're using within Copilots. Any of the connectors that you see within Power Platform, you can create a policy around whether you want to restrict it or partially restrict it, or you only want to get data or update data. You have all of that control with DLP policies, and that includes custom connectors. So you can also include endpoints that custom connectors might use. All right, so I wanted to quickly go over those things before I got started, just to touch on the governance aspect of Copilot. But now let's jump into some fun new demos here. So the first one I'm going to show you is the new Copilot that's within model-driven apps. Now, you can also add a Copilot within a Canvas app as well that acts very similarly, and it uses Dataverse to form its answers and respond back to whatever questions that you may ask it. So this Copilot is available in both Canvas and model-driven apps. It will automatically show up in model-driven apps since model-driven apps require Dataverse, and it uses Dataverse. So when you're creating your tables, you can make sure that your columns are set up for the Copilot by enabling the searchability property for those columns. And then it will be able to essentially pull that data back for any questions that you may ask it. So let's get started. Let's ask it a few questions here. I have a demo here that I've created around customer tickets. It's a small demo here in terms of data, but you can kind of get a feeling for the answers that it provides and the questions that you can ask it. So let's ask it a few here. I'm going to ask how many tickets are currently open. And I apologize for the waiting for Copilot to respond here. So it said that I have 6 tickets open, and if I ask it which tickets are open, it'll respond with the exact tickets, and I can click on them. So I see 2 tickets here. It responded with 6. Unsure why it said 6, but then came back with 2. But if I say, if I ask it exactly what tickets are open, it'll say there are 2 open tickets, and I have 2 answers here that I can click on. So it'll take me directly to those records for the tickets that are open. And if I wanted to view them all on one page, I can do that with a filtered down view of open tickets. So pretty nice that it actually provides links in the chat itself that you can actually go directly to the records that that you're looking for with your question. Okay, now I want to know what tickets I'm assigned. So I've assigned tickets to myself. And now it gives me 2 tickets that I'm assigned to, and it gives me the exact links to those tickets. Again, I can show them all on one page. So also very, very nice, especially with a large data set. If you're not sure exactly what tickets you've been assigned, you can quickly ask Copilot. It'll bring back the tickets, and you can navigate to those tickets. All right, let's ask it kind of a question about the data within this these tickets. So which ones are regarding payment? And if I go back here, back. So I have 1 ticket regarding payment. Let's ask what ticket that is. So it does know that I asked about payments, tickets regarding payments, and I can then ask a context question in terms of my last question. Which one is that? So it does follow your conversation, and it will provide answers based on your previous questions that you've asked, which is a nice feature as well. So you can kind of have a continuous conversation with this Copilot around your data. So let's navigate to the next demo. The next demo is I'm going to show how we kick off a workflow with Copilot. So in this example, I have a few invoices. It's an invoice management demo. I have a few invoices, and if an invoice is above a certain amount, it's going to get flagged, which you'll see in a second. And I can then kind of inquire about that invoice. So let's go ahead and click into this. I can see that it's been flagged. It's over. I think I set it to $1,200. So this has been flagged, and I can say, oh, let's open up a Copilot for this, and let's actually submit a review. So I have a Copilot within, this is a custom Copilot from Copilot Studio that I've added to a Power App. And in this Power App, or in this Copilot, I am essentially triggering a flow behind the scenes to start an approval process. And it will take the my prompt that I'm going to feed it, and it will dissect it. It'll pick apart all of the pieces of it. So the company, the issue that I am reporting, and the total as well. And if I don't provide any of those, it will ask me for those specific pieces of for the review. So let's go ahead and test this out. So I've added a chatbot here. I've added some details about this just so the user can see why this was flagged, and the company, as those are two things that I need to provide for the review. I'm going to say, please submit a review for Rockhop LLC because the total is too high, and I'd like to review each line item for the invoice. Now it's missing a piece of this review, and that's the total. So I can say, oh, well, the total was that, and it should then prompt a the trigger of the flow and an approval, which I can show that just came to my inbox. So we can see that I have an approval for Rockhop LLC, and we need to review that. The invoice from Rockhop LLC needs to be reviewed. The reason, review each line item in the invoice. So it took that from my answer, and then it took the total that I provided it, and it added it to the invoice total. Now I've added myself to the approval just to show you this, but obviously we could even add an approver to there as well to say, hey, add Dave to the approvals for this request, and a bunch of other things that we could add to this based off my response to kind of make this, to build on this example for triggering a flow within a Copilot. And you can see it responded that my review for Rockhop LLC has been submitted successfully. So pretty cool. We can actually kick things off from Copilot, and it's going to dissect my answers. I don't need to form it in any way. It'll try to find the company, it'll try to find the total and the reason why I'm doing this. And if it can't find any of those, it will ask me again to say, hey, I didn't pick that up. What was the total in the invoice? Now in this case, I didn't even provide it. So so a pretty cool feature within Copilot. All right. Now the next one. Again, I have a Copilot, a custom one that I've built within Copilot Studio that I've added to a Canvas app again. In this example, I am creating a new status report for one of our projects. The project I've clicked on is budget management. And there is a create new status report page. When you click on a project, you enter the date, you enter the hours for the week, and the summary of work that happened for that project. Now I have a little assistant on the right here that I can ask questions about this project, and it's actually going to reach out to one of our external systems, Rudder. It's our time management system that we use at Rockhop, and it will pull back information based on the project. So it can pull back the project numbers, it can pull back time entries, it can pull back budget and any other API endpoints that we can access in Rudder, we could pull back. In this example, I'm gonna get some information on this project to help me fill out this status report. So I'm gonna say, please list time entries for a project. And I'm being very general here just to show you that it will prompt me to say, hey, what project are you referring to? You're pretty vague here. Now I'll stop here and say, we are using actions within Copilot Studio. So those actions are calling out to an external, a custom connector that we've configured, and I can show that in a second. And there are inputs that I have for each endpoint and a description for the endpoint so that it knows I'm asking for time entries. Let's call the time entries endpoint. These are the inputs I need for the endpoint. If I can't find them in what you're asking, I'm going to ask some further questions so that I can get the right information for your request. So we'll keep going here. It asks, what project are you referring to? Well, I'm referring to budget management because that is the status report I'm building. So I have it spit out the project reference ID. That's the internal ID at Rudder, just for just to know that it is finding the correct project. It did find the correct project within Rudder. And then it lists 3 time entries that I've added clearly from Copilot. I have added automated notes from Copilot here. So I have a previous demo where I actually update Rudder with time entries. So now I'm actually pulling those time entries back. So I have 3 time entries for budget management, as you can see. So all of this is raw data that came from Rudder. It is a set of JSON objects that it is now parsed and actually formed into a bulleted list of time entries that I now can use for the status report. So I can see I've an hour and a half of time that I've used this week on budget management. I can see the notes are hello from Copilot. This was done via a bot, but if I had some better descriptions there, I could then form the summary of work that we did that week so that I could fully form this new status report for budget management. So a nice assistant. I don't have to go and search through time entries within Rudder. I can pull it back all within this app and get all the information I need to submit this status report. So, and I'll quickly just show you what the technology is that I'm using behind the scenes for this. As this is a brand new feature within Copilot, and that is actions, and you'll see it on the left here. And you can see I have some custom connectors that I've built for Rudder. And I've obviously iterated on this and have a few versions of this custom connector. But you can see I have list time entries. If I click into this, I can see I've added a very brief description, but it was able to take what I asked and apply it to this action. So so it was able, the better description you have here, the easier it is for actions to know what you're talking about and to apply that action. And then you can see I have the 2 inputs, project ID and the limit, which I set manually. So pretty cool stuff here with actions. This is a very powerful feature that's been added to Copilot to kind of help drive conversations and use external data and get external data based on questions that you're asking the Copilot.
All right, great. Well, we can close it out. Anybody who responded yes will be reaching out shortly to schedule some time with you, and we look forward to hearing what you have going on. So, and of course, if you just go to the next slide, Michael, I put our contact information up there, so feel free to reach out directly. And we will get back in touch. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.